Hey, welcome back to another video related to Dungeons & Dragons Online. Now this video is going to talk about the Forgotten Realms a lot. Okay? We're not going to do any gameplay. The reason why we're going to talk about the Forgotten Realms is that, with the latest expansion that came out, the Terror of Demogorgon, which has this really crazy theme of demons from the abyss have come from their plane into the Underdark, right? And that's where all the new gameplay and all the new cool stuff is. I've been trying to get my character to the right level. You have to be level 8 to get to that. So the first part of the video, what I'm going to do is say, okay, say you've got a character that's level 8, or you're a returning player and you have a character that was higher level. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to the Gatekeeper's Grove, right here in the harbor. So we're going to do that. But once I get to the Underdark, right, I'm not going to start doing quests. I want to go back and talk about the history, right? I want to talk about the history of how the Forgotten Realms got infused into this game, some of the decisions they made with marketing, why it's cool, why it matters, and then I want to share with you the Karen Wynn Fonstad Atlas and some of the neat things about the Forgotten Realms, because I grew up with it, actually. I was fortunate enough to be there when it was released, because if you're a member or the subscriber to the Classic DM channel, I'm all Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. I'm like old school dude. I love that crap. You won't see me playing Dungeon Crawl Classics ever. So as you saw, I went to that one gate in the Gatekeeper's Grove, which came to this Eveningstar cave. And you're thinking to yourself, Eveningstar, what's that? Actually, this is a town at a crossroads in Cormyr, which is nowhere near Neverwinter. We've been doing Neverwinter. Oh, good, it's not raining now. I was here earlier, it was raining. It looked like shit. So this little area is a high-level zone that was introduced into the game for doing Forgotten Realms content. And here's some of the map. Let's put the map up here. Great little zone, great little map, tons of cool stuff to do outside my level range that I've ever gotten to in DDO. One day I look forward to doing it. However, this is how you get to the expansion to do content for it. So if you do have a character that's level 8 and you bought the expansion, you're like, hey man, I want to go check that crap out right away. Let me show you how to get there. And then once I've shown you how to get there and I go inside, you'll see Bruno Battlehammer's there and all this Underguard type stuff happening where a hidden conclave of people are trying to deal with these demons, etc. And then you're going to end up going to the Underdark, right? So the factions of the Duergar are involved, and the factions of, oh gosh, Deep Gnomes, everyone's involved, right? And all this stuff is unsettling. And you're going to have to go to Mantle Dareth and all these classic places. And if you're a younger person, you never played Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition, you've only played 5th edition, you're kind of getting this older perspective on what Forgotten Realms is all about. So the first thing you can do is find this guy, this Edamar guy at the Terror of Demogorgon. So you can talk to him. He's going to explain to you what the deal is, what's happening. Demon lords have escaped to the Underdark. You travel to the Underdark. This will take you to Graven Hollow. Graven Hollow is like the quest hub. This is where all the goody two-shoe people are, right? None of the drow are in here, but you're going to go in here and you're going to hang a right past the flumps, and down here you're going to see Bruno Battlehammer, and this is like some ancient library, right? So I've already picked up the quest from him, so that's where you're going to start the quest to go do all the storyline stuff for the brand new expansion. But what I want to do before we start running around doing that, because I will do gameplay videos of me playing through this, because you can go into their open world environment, kind of like they had when they had the Keep on the Borderlands, which then connects to all the different instances and stuff. You can do that at level 8, and you can do at level 10 or level 11 challenge rating, right? Let's go back. I don't want to go to the Dark Lake. Dark Lake is the zone I'm talking about. Let me go back to Eveningstar, so we can have Eveningstar music and stuff and sound effects playing in the background while we're talking about the Forgotten Realms and the history of some of the stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to park my character here, get off my mount. No, get off the mount. I'm so used to hitting my mount button all the time to dismount in video games. All right. So what we want to do now, we're going to switch over to, let's see. Let's do an Alt-Enter, which won't make any difference for you. And I'm going to go switch over to this, which is my screen. And I'm going to pull this up down here. And I want to pull this all the way up here to the Forgotten Realms. And I want to hide this behind the scenes. Now you can hear the cool soothing music in the background. So let's talk about this while we talk about the game. So this is where the Classic DM subscribers who love D&D, who grew up with D&D, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons or 2nd edition, or maybe you're a 5th edition person that only really got into D&D when 5th edition came out, because we all know that Wizards of the Coast have been, they've been reusing the classic stuff for a long, long time. I'm going to give you my perspective on it because it's fun to talk about this stuff. And I'd love to hear what you have to say too, right? Put a comment in there. Say, oh, yeah, I remember the first time we played this. Oh, my God, I've got this atlas. It's freaking awesome. Karen Wynn Fonstad. She has passed away. She was a cartographer. She loved the Lord of the Rings online from what I've read about her. I don't know her, of course. I never met her. But she ultimately did an atlas for Middle Earth, like this incredible atlas. And I think it was later on, or like 1987, the Forgotten Realms box set gets released. And this is around the time there's 2nd edition D&D rolling out, right? And once they released, this is by Ed Greenwood. He's still around on Facebook, acting like a wizard and shit with gray beards. He looks like Elminster. I think Ed Greenwood is Elminster. I think that's the deal with that. So Dungeons & Dragons Online adopted the Forgotten Realms and like update 14, right? I remember they doing updates. It's kind of the way the Neverwinter guys are doing module 10, module 30, etc., etc. So update 14 was like June of 2012, right? What is that? That's 14 years ago. What were you doing in 2012, right? It was called the Menace of the Underdark. And that was the first time they decided, hey, listen, we're going to infuse this cool stuff into the game 2 years before 5th edition comes out. So they're doing this at a time frame when the D&D world, the tabletop world, is in 4th edition, or hating it and going to Pathfinder, whatever you want to call it, right? 4th edition came out 2007. I remember getting the 3-book set when it was first released. It was like the anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons. It was like the 30th anniversary or some crap like that. So when the 4th edition came out, that's when Neverwinter started, right? The video game I did other videos for. But DDO had already been released many, many years prior to this. And so DDO was a 3.5, 3.0 / edition game, like the way Neverwinter Nights was, right? DDO is freaking awesome. I love it. I wish I had enough money to help these guys out and redo their audio and get music going on. It's, oh my God, there's so many cool details that Standing Stone Games could do. They probably just don't have the funding for it. Anyway, so the Forgotten Realms is a fantastic, how you call it? Like, it's a game world, right? It's kind of like Greyhawk is the classic from 1st edition. Forgotten Realms is the most popular one of all. And after Forgotten Realms got established, it's been used over and over and over and over again. And why is that? Well, when Wizards of the Coast got involved, what they decided to do is start writing novels. So they hired all kinds of young novelists to make over 200 novels set in the Forgotten Realms. I think Ed Stark, who I worked with on Warhammer 40K, Dark Millennium Online, he was a creative director on the 2nd edition D&D for many years, right? And around that time, after he left that group, he went to work on Elder Scrolls Online. And unfortunately, the Elder Scrolls Online have gone through massive layoffs. And some of the most classic D&D veterans in the world who've been working on Elder Scrolls Online lost their jobs because of this Asha Sharma woman. I'll not go into that because you'll hear me cursing a lot. Let's go back and think about DDO. So how does DDO, which isn't a Forgotten Realms game, transition into having Forgotten Realms content? But what about Eberron? Well, remember when Dungeons & Dragons Online was first released, it was released and branded as Dungeons & Dragons Online Stormreach, right? And you have this like mechanized character, and you're like, what the hell is that? And what's Eberron? So Eberron was a game world, kind of like the Forgotten Realms, that was a winning game world somewhat, with a competition that Keith Baker had done. Now, Keith Baker's gone on to do all kinds of TTRPG stuff over the years. Bill Slavicsek and Chris Perkins and James Wyatt, from what I understand from my light research here, please correct me if I'm wrong, end up working with Keith Baker to release the Eberron campaign set, but it was in 3.5. And they did a bunch of stuff for it. And then when they go to 4th edition, it kind of became like, yeah, man, Eberron's going to be the new thing in 4th edition. And that's where they have the different version of the elves and some of the, the Dragonborn are introduced. So you're like, oh, okay. So Neverwinter, which is like 2013, is in Eberron. That's like 1 year before 5th edition releases, which goes back to Forgotten Realms. So you can see Eberron's in this weird juxtaposition, I should say, where it's supposed to have been like this a new game world to refresh the world, to give it a new look and new feel, and new characters, new stories. They put like 20 books together, but the Forgotten Realms continue to endure. I think, in my personal opinion, that's because of the novels. So if you've read any of the novels, who hasn't heard of Drizzt Do'Urden, right? I mean, there's a lot of novels besides that. Besides the Dragonlance stuff, which is a completely separate animal, when they started doing all these novels, right? And they made like over 150 source books for the Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is pretty much king, right? If you think about it, it has the most reach, the most familiarity, the most interesting characters. It has the most well fleshed out atlas. Although I will tell you this, when the Forgotten Realms was first released, their map sucked. It did not compare to Darlene's Greyhawk map at all. But books like this by Karen Wynn Fonstad, what she did is she took the it's like 1990, right? So you have like 1987. Ed Greenwood's Forgotten Realms gets released. I think it was either TSR or Wizards of the Coast at that time. I'm pretty sure it's even branded TSR, right? I don't think TSR quite sold yet. So this is a time frame where this atlas is made less than 3 years after the release of the Forgotten Realms, and it's already got a tremendous amount of detail related to the novels. So one of the things that's really cool that was done in her first atlas is everything that happens in all the Lord of the Rings books, like she did the Atlas of Middle-earth, tracks where Frodo went and where Gandalf went and Aragorn went and where Bilbo Baggins went on his first journey in The Hobbit. So if you love the books, having this book is a must-have, absolutely must-have. Let me flip through it pretty quickly and talk about this and show how this ties back to DDO so you know where you are in the world, right? So it's a little confusing if you're not quite sure, right? So it has an overarching view of Faerun, I think is how you pronounce it, for the game world. Very similar to Europe, right? Greyhawk isn't like Europe, but the atlas for Conan, the atlas for the Middle Earth, the atlas for Faerun for Dungeons and Dragons, they all kind of looks like Europe, where you have European nations and stuff on the far left, and you have Asian, style nations on the far right, and you have deserts down south, and up north you have all these glaciers. Seems to make sense, right? Norway's up north, and then you have the deepest, darkest Africa in the south, and even this world they made for Pathfinder is the same kind of thing. It's almost like this is the standard fantasy game trope to the continental Europe, Eurasia and Asia. Like, it's nothing to do with South America, North America. Forget all that crap. It's where the dumbass Americans live, right? I'm one of them. So the atlas itself breaks down all the regions, talks about the trackless sea. You can look on here, you can see where Neverwinter, Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep. Neverwinter's right up here, okay? Let me put this on highlight mode so you can see what I'm talking about. This is Neverwinter's up here, right? Bluskin's up above. If you read any of the Halfling Gem or any of those other novels, you recognize these places. Cormyr's way down here to the right. Right? But we're going to get to that in a minute. Let me just highlight it for you real quick for fun. So this is kind of hard to read on a phone or on your video, but this is where Cormyr is, where this Lake of Dragons that goes to the Sea of Fallen Stars. So this area is nowhere near Baldur's Gate, nowhere near Waterdeep, nowhere near. This isn't even Eberron. This is the Forgotten Realms. Evermeet and the Moonshade Islands and all that crap. So many novels written about this stuff. Anorok Desert. Okay, great. Let's move on a little faster. I want to show you some details that are interesting. So in the atlas, it then zooms in on each section and gives you a much better, higher resolution view of all the different cities. And then there's all the written lore. If you watch my DDO, my Neverwinter series, you see me joke around going lore every time I pick up a book. All that stuff is actually pulled from the lore that's done in this book. And some of the maps are turned on their sides, right, to make them work properly. Let's go forward here a little quickly here. This is the Moonshade Islands. That's kind of off into the west of the shoreline. And you get a little further here. Of course, you have all these wonderful cutaway drawings. If you're doing a D&D campaign and you want to do one of these locations that's in one of the books, this is fantastic. It gives you a sense of where things are. And they obviously, because of the popularity of the Drizzt Do'Urden books, the entire Icewind Dale section's very well detailed, right? And let's go ahead and jump ahead to some of that stuff. Okay, the lands of Icewind Dale. Not that I'm a big Drizzt Do'Urden fan. I love the fighting, don't like the characters, but this gives you a really good view of the whole area. This Reghed Glacier is part of the current event happening in DDO right now. And if you look really carefully, you have the Sea of Endless Ice. You have all the locations. This is Neverwinter down here. Luskan's up above. The Ice Lakes. You can see where the barbarian camp in, Icing Death's Lair, where, you know, Dritz got one of the swords. I think it was Twinkle? Was that the sword he got? One of the other ones, I can't remember exactly. So if you read all the books and you love all that kind of crap, you gotta have this, right? And like, well, shit, where do I get it? It's not in print anymore. Well, you could probably get it as a collector's item, but I tell you what you could do. Here's what you could do. Let's go down here to the bottom. Let's pull up our web browser. So you could go to DriveThruRPG, right? And just type in, let's do it right now. We'll type in the Forgotten Realms Atlas, right? There it is, right there. You can get a PDF version so you can print it yourself. $9.99. One of the greatest books ever created in the TTRPG universe. And the Atlas of Middle-earth is really good too. This is just amazing. $10? You can't even get a freaking combo meal at McDonald's for $10 anymore. And just take this stuff down to freaking FedEx and print it, or print it at your office or something. So this book is so useful for you to get a sense of where everything is, right? I'm going to flip through this. There's Crystal Tirith. You know, there's an instance in Neverwinter that handles this. So when DDO is introducing the Forgotten Realms, that opens the door for them also to put Greyhawk stuff in there, right? So you have the Keep on the Borderlands. Well, that's Greyhawk. So now, basically, DDO has Eberron, which didn't really pan out. Then it has the Forgotten Realms content. And then it also has the Greyhawk content. So it's probably one of the most coolest things possible, because if you love D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, and you don't want to play a turn-based, over-sexualized piece of crap like Baldur's Gate, sorry, I hate that game. It's a great game, got a bunch of awards, but can you just take the sex out of it? It's like, that's not what D&D about. D&D is not about that. D&D is about adventure with friends. Okay, it's like Harry Potter. It's adventure with friends, and it's supposed to be scary. It's not supposed to be trying to get into the pants of every single character in your party. I have a real problem with that kind of crap. But anyway, despite the fact that Divinity Original Sin, rebranded as Baldur's Gate 3, was created, this brings a lot of new people to the Dungeons & Dragons universe. So the whole Icewind Dale stuff is detailed in here, etc. And this is Mithril Hall, right? And so you're playing these Dungeons & Dragons oriented video games, which I have a massive love affair for. This is where the content comes from. And every game developer has to do an interpretation of what this place is really like. And here's Baldur's Gate, the real original Baldur's Gate map, right? So when you're playing a video game, you're not going to see all this. It's like the city-state of the Invincible Overlord. They're not going to make all that. They make these concessions, right? So in Kalimport, the sewers, Pook's Palace. This is from the Halfling Gem, which is like book 3. I think it's book 3, or is it book 2? I think it was Streams of Silver. The Crystal Shard, Streams of Silver, and the Halfling Gem. I think it's book 3 that happened. This is like a Thieves Guild where Regis the Halfling steals like the little ruby gem that influences people, etc. You can go look it up. Anyway, so you go over here to the western heartlands, of the lands of Shadowdale. This is where the zone that I'm in right now, the Eveningstar, which you can see back here in the background, this map here is happening in this area, right? So if you look here very carefully, here's Eveningstar right here. It's at these crossroads. And you go in a little closer and it starts telling you about Shadowdale, all the different locations in Shadowdale, everything around it, right? And there's a better map here of some of the other locations that you really should check out. So when they did this expansion, you know, think about this for a minute. You've got the Underdark, which is the Forgotten Realms version of what we first learned about in the Vaults of Drow. Right? Drow, living underground, cities, and noble houses. Same theme carried over, Arya Salvatore, Menzo Berenzin, Mantle Dareth, all these places. These are Forgotten Realms locations. So this expansion is set really in a Forgotten Realms world. And this Eveningstar zone was first introduced to bridge the Forgotten Realms into Dungeons & Dragons Online. And that's what makes it really great and magical, because, you know, as of 2012, with all the expansions they've been doing, you know, like I played through the Sinister Seeker Assault Marshal. That's Greyhawk. That's AD&D. And so now they have this kind of like timeless blending back and forth. But what I like about it, to tell you the truth, is they're not doing what 5th edition did. You know, Neverwinter's been trying to kind of like turn themselves into 5th edition since 2014 or 15 or so. But what they're doing with DDO is so much more interesting. Is they're taking these classic locations like the Temple of Elemental Evil, and they're having to do video game interpretations. But the ideas and the themes and the characters, they're all there for you. So if you get a chance, if you got $10, grab this atlas. You know, pick one of your favorite locations when you're playing Neverwinter, or you're playing Dungeons & Dragons Online, or if even you're playing the old Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you know, or any of those games, or the Icewind Dale trilogy in those old game engines. I mean, this is where all this stuff really comes from. So that's what I wanted this video to be about before we go in there and start beefing around, because they've created some new zones in this expansion that aren't necessarily exactly copied from what's been there, done that in the Forgotten Realms. Then that was the big thing I wanted to try to explain to people. I want them to kind of understand that, like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Let's just close this, and you can pull up here. You see the $9 thing for that. Let's close this and go back to our game. There you go. Sorry, black screen for a second. Let me pop that up to full screen again. So I'm looking forward to doing this. The next video in the series, I'm going to go run the first quest. I've already picked up the first quest from Bruno Battlehammer, and I can't wait to go see what happens and go run around a dark lake and get in trouble. What I've read so far, the first little bit I played last night after I hit level 8, I was so excited like a little child. I ran out there right away and started doing stuff. I was like, hey, this is really cool. The whole storyline, the situation happening, it's a neat mixture between the demons from the abyss and stuff happening that's actually Underdark that's normally confrontational. So yeah, that's what the video's about. So I want you to kind of understand, like, how does this all work? How does it all fit together? The freedom that the guys have now and have had for many years to bring you anything in the D&D universe is now completely wide open. So yeah, learn your history, and if you love video games and love Dungeons & Dragons, leave a comment. Tell me how you first got introduced to this. I mean, there's some people that play DDO that are hardcore just gamers. They don't know anything about the lore of this stuff. They never played this. They weren't even born when Forgotten Realms came out. Maybe you were born. Maybe you're like me, an old school dude, and you remember the sinister secret of Salt Marsh coming out of the UK. Right? You remember all these things. So in a modern world, it's so wonderful to have Neverwinter and DDO, games we can go into that touch to our nostalgia, have simple game mechanics that run really good, that have different ways you can play and set goals, and have a long tail to it. These games are like, they're what EverQuest probably should have been in the first place. Okay, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I hope you guys had fun listening to me ramble about this stuff. And soon we'll see our little dude here, Kuradu Water Villa. He's level 8, and he's got, let's see his stats real quick. What's he doing for this stuff? Let's go to his inventory. He's armor class 25. Using the bow. Oh, we got to get some ammo equipped. Let me show you what my stats are sitting at right now. Let's get a magic arrows going with some of those. Put those in the bow, and it'll show us what we got. So we're at plus 30 to hit. Yay! And our dexterity is sitting at what? We're sitting at like 28 dexterity. No buffs are on whatsoever. And yeah, I can't wait to go in there and have some fun and blow some shit up and have a giggle and laugh along the way. So thanks for tuning in. If you have a suggestion of something you'd like to see me do, I mean, I originally made this series to teach my Dungeons & Dragons fans that aren't necessarily hardcore gamers who are like later in life and coming back and got a PC now and like, oh, my kids moved away, I'm gonna play video games. This game runs really good on new machines really well, and they're not maybe all that great at playing games. It's not really a hardcore gamer kind of a channel. Try to explain like what's the deal behind the stuff, how does it work, why they do it that way. If you have a request, put a request in there. I like having goals for content that will affect people, that because games are magic and D&D is just freaking the bomb. I wouldn't have this channel live if I didn't like it. There's no classic Traveler game, unfortunately, so we had to wait for that one. Okay guys, we'll see you later, and take care and have a great day.